To another edition of Mongols brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. I'm Mike. With me is Kevin Josh. The Hounds outlasted the Legion to move on to the next round of the playoffs. Let's go! I thought I was gonna like flip out of my chair because I just kept going and I was like, Josh, hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. So
I thought about making you sweat. I was like, I won't hit the intro a little bit longer, a little bit. I should probably hit it. Fine.
Josh is driving and I'm still hosting. We're trying something a little bit different today. In the past few episodes, there've been some like audio clipping, and we're trying to see if it's actually software related, not hardware related. So we will find out. Josh, do you want to crack open the victory beverage?
There it is. A playoff victory beverage, which we don't get very many of those.
I have thought that like all three of us should have a victory beverage on this one, and then I just totally forgot about it. So that's my fault. A lot going on the past few days.
It's okay. Josh, I got a nice tall beer this time, so I'll be drinking.
What is that? It looks like there's like a goat on it.
The brand is Necro Brewing or something like that. Necromancer.
That's not.
And it is Eternal Dalmatian. Their whole shtick is they do a lot of beers that are from old breweries that have closed. So like they bring back beers that are like popular from like other breweries. Like they get the license to do it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
Cool. Like how do they do that? That's like recipes and like everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think they just work with old breweries and old beers that aren't around anymore, even like types of beers, that kind of stuff. So they also have like their own unique ones as well. But yeah, we actually went on a tour this weekend on Saturday. They had a bus tour. It was like brews and spooky stuff. I can't remember how they rhymed it, but anyway, it was you ever heard of Odd Pittsburgh? It's a they have like a website, a Twitter handle, other social medias, and the guy who does that, it was his first time ever doing a bus tour. So like we just drove around the north side, and he told like crazy stories about Pittsburgh and like kind of like scary stories. It was mostly true crime stuff, so it was less scary and more depressing. But like, a whole bunch of people died here. It's like, oh, okay, cool. But there was some spookier stuff, and like, it was all throughout the whole north side, so it was pretty fun.
I can't remember if we've had this conversation on the pod, but I've had this conversation with my wife a lot, where one of the scariest characters that she identifies in a movie is actually Heath Ledger's Joker. Not because he was scary, but because of how close to reality it actually could be. Like you could have somebody that's actually messing with like mentally unstable people and like putting bombs inside of them. And like, it felt a little too close to reality for her. So yeah, but otherwise it sounds awesome. Kev, how did you enjoy the game this weekend?
It was great. I mean, I don't know. Are we getting into it? I don't want to it was great.
Okay, what else did you do this weekend, Kev?
No one cares.
Well, you don't want to get into it, and you don't want to talk about what you did this weekend.
I just don't want to get into it this way. I don't want me to be the lead in with such a. I don't know how to lead this in. Oh man.
It's early in the season. We'll figure this out, guys. Don't worry. We'll get a rhythm going. We'll get a cadence. Like, just give some time. The season's still young.
Years. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We'll get to it. All right. We're gonna skip past like anything else that happened this weekend. Obviously, the Hounds won a crazy thriller of a game last night. The final score was 2-2. We ended up winning 8-7 on penalties. I mean, so many emotions, so many crazy things to talk about in this one. Josh, let's start. You were at Bulldog. Talk about the scenes at Bulldog. I know the team had shared video of what was going on at Mike's Beer Bar, and it felt like, World Cup circa like 4 years ago or 8 years ago when the U.S. won and people were just losing their minds. So what was it like at Bulldog?
Oh, it was crazy. I mean, so yeah, I was so happy to see that Bulldog, or not Bulldog, but Mike was also full. But yeah, Mike's was full. I think they had over 50 people. We had about 50 or over as well. So both bars were pretty full. Oh man, it was stressful. This was the most drama-filled game I think we could have ever possibly had, with the ups, downs, ups, and then
Hmm.
yeah, and it was just like I've never been more stressed at a bar in my life. But yeah, it was fun. There was chants going every once in a while. We had all the TVs pretty much turned over. Like, it's funny because the game, since it went into extra time and everything, it overlapped with the Steelers game. We're in a Pittsburgh bar, so you expect Steelers to be the thing. No one was watching the Steelers. Like, there was like a couple TVs onto the Steelers just because, like, you kind of have to have some TVs onto it. But we had the sound, we had all the people there, and like even the people who were originally going to Bulldog for the Steelers were watching our game, and like you couldn't help but not, because like we're all chanting and doing and awing and like reacting to every single play, every single pass, and cursing at the TV every once in a while. But and then once the game like winner happened, eruptions. I gotta do something that's on my bucket list. I gotta stand up on a chair and yell, "This round's on me."
Nice.
How does that work? Because I saw that tweet. So is it emotional reaction, or are you thinking about it? You're like, can my bank account do this? I can do this. And then you get up and do it?
Okay. Well, first off, by me, I meant the Steel Army, because the Steel Army paid for it. But here's what actually happened. I like we have our Steel Army Slack. I was like, hey guys, like, should we buy a round? Like, if we win? And then it turned into, so then I text Jesse, the owner, and he's there, and like he at first he didn't see my text. I was going to go over talk to him. Then so I see him like look at his phone, look up at me, kind of like turn his head. He's like, "Halvesies." I'm like, you don't have to. He's like, "I want to." I'm like, "All right, fine." So he took half the bill. We took half the bill.
Oh, that's nice.
And he did not charge us half the bill. There's no way. But anyway, that's besides the point.
That's
So-
awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that was really super cool. And it was just eruptions, and it was emotional. It was great. I loved it. So yeah.
Kev, tell us about your viewing experience before we get into the details.
Not nearly as exciting. I mean, yeah, it was. We were just, we started the, 3-hour affair, probably longer than that, eating dinner on the couch, and then it just evolved. And I was, I kept I was like, like I'm gonna make decaf. I was like, I'll make a cup of decaf like after the game. I don't want to like get up and then it's like 9 o'clock and I'm like, I really want it, but it didn't matter. Didn't matter at all. No, it was great. It was tense. It was stressful. Riley was there and watching it too. It was fun.
We were hiking, not during the game. I didn't miss the game, but the scouts, we were supposed to go on a hike in an area called Bear Run, which is down by Falling Water. Beautiful. I mean, literally, as we're hiking, I couldn't hear like more than one or two people in front or behind me because there were so many leaves on the ground that it was just like crunching everywhere. But anything that you would imagine about sort of like a fall wonderland, that's what it was. It was just different color leaves. It was a fantastic hike. But when we got there, I was expecting us to do a 4-mile hike. And all the scouts were like, no, let's do the 5-mile. And I started like looking at my watch and I'm like, guys, we're going to have to hightail it. So literally as soon as the hike finished, my wife was there with Ollie in the car because they went down the Ohio Pile because he couldn't do the hike with his crutches. They were waiting in the car, and it was like as soon as we left the trail, I was like, all right, guys, it's been fun. See you later, bye. Like jumped in the car and like sped home and barely made it home in time for kickoff. And then, I did not move from the couch for the rest of the game. It was insane. It was crazy to see not only all of the buzz and excitement last night that was online, but everything that spilled over into this morning and all day today. And we haven't seen excitement in this team like this in a long, long time. Like, soccer's fun again, guys. Like, it wasn't fun before this. It was just like, all right, we'll watch the team play. And to be, full transparency, there were times in this game that it wasn't really fun to watch. At least I didn't think so. It was just, the few times that Birmingham went up, I pretty much just reserved myself. I was like, we're not really generating many chances. Like, this game is over. I said this game is over at least twice and thought that it was over, and then clearly it wasn't. So, getting into the details, for those of you who haven't seen it, and I don't know who I'm kidding, everybody's seen it. We said 2-2. Kizza got both of the goals, coming on as a sub for Kenny. And then the pens back and forth and back and forth. I shouldn't even say back and forth. Waite saved the first two. And really, we should have put it away from there, but we did not. So, Kev, give me a takeaway from the game.
I mean, I was thinking about this as leading up to doing the podcast. I'm like, all right, what am I going to say? And yeah, I mean, like in this game, it sounds cheesy, but it deserves cheese. Like I was thinking, all right, like you can't throw all of the play out of the window. Throw like any of the chances we did create or didn't create. Throw away, the goals that we let in. I mean, everything boils down to, the Hounds. This team showed, the most important things in a playoff game where everything's on the line. Composure, bravery, belief. It doesn't matter about tactical setup. It doesn't matter about anything that, Mike, you said you thought this game was over twice. Right there with you. To get an 89th minute tie, goal, to push it to extra time, and then to do it again in the extra time when everyone's tired. You have a bunch of subs on the field. And, had the tail end of the season that we had. I mean, and so this is why playoffs are so great and frustrating sometimes, but great, that if you have, if you have the experience, if you have the emotional momentum, and if you have, the belief, that carries so much weight in these games. And these players, to their credit, showed it, and it was wonderful. And so that's all I can say. There's no way I'm going to break down like, Rivera was a little, soft on this or whatever. It's like, it doesn't matter. Like after those goals, and after the belief they had, and after the belief they had in the pens, like, yeah, great result. And, it was very satisfying, especially after what didn't happen last year because of the first round back out that we had to do against Birmingham. And it was great to do it against those freaking fans, and to do it against those players. So that was even sweeter.
Yeah, I nicknamed this episode Kryptonite because it feels like we are Birmingham's Kryptonite. Like they just can't get past us when it comes to the playoffs. The flip side of that, which we'll get to in a minute, is we are now set to face what feels like our Kryptonite, and we have a chance to try to break that in Louisville. But let's stay on this game at least a little bit longer, because there's just like so much to talk about. Kev, you mentioned, you don't want to pick apart individual performances. I'm totally game for that. That's fine. Meaning not.
I don't want to pick apart.
Yeah.
Not pick apart negative performances. Like I can talk all day about Kizza and how he,
yes.
like Kizza should start next, or maybe not. Maybe he shouldn't start, and he should only.
That's a question we'll get to.
Yeah.
One of the things that to Birmingham's credit, their first goal that came off of that set piece, I don't understand why we don't see more set pieces like that. Like why aren't there more trick plays? That's really the coaches. I mean, aside from formation and some like basic strategy, that's really one of the few places where coaches can exact like actual, like, this is exactly what we're going to do, and this is exactly how it's going to turn out in a game. And you just don't see it nearly that often. More often than not, it's just like set up, lob the ball in, hope for one of your center backs to get ahead on it, and that's what you do. And we did that a few times in this game. It's just curious to me that when even if it doesn't come off, something like that happens, and everyone's like, surprised and impressed. And, I'd love to see more of that in the game, but we just don't. We don't. It's a bummer.
I think it is pretty interesting. I know there has been conversations in different parts of like the sporting world or whatever about that, saying that exact thing where, like to kind of just reinforce, Mike, what you said, it is the only moment where you have complete control over a stopped scenario. And so everything else is so fluid and so transitional, and you can't, so my only guess would be, especially at this level, managers don't believe that the time spent practicing it in practice gives the appropriate returns based off of like what else you could be practicing on. That's my only guess, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see more of it like pushing forward. I wouldn't expect it to see in the lower leagues first. I would expect it to see it like executed at top levels and then it kind of filter down to lower levels. But it is interesting, and I kind of agree with you. I think there is an option there to like do some crazy, NFL type plays.
I mean, but the flip side of that is like when it doesn't work, it looks terrible. Like it's like taking a short corner. Like, you know what I mean? Like when like someone does it and then like nothing comes to it, you're like, they just wasted that corner. Like the same thing happens with these like tricky type plays where it's like, oh, they did something cheeky and they got burnt because they were trying to be too cheeky. It's, taking stutter steps for a PK. It's the same idea where it feels like unnecessarily complicated or silly, and like they try to do a little bit of like a tricky play in the first half. I believe they also had a set piece outside the box, and like 3 players like ran up to kick the ball, and they all like the first 2 faked like they're going to kick it, and they didn't kick the ball. So it's like, oop, you don't know which way it's going to go. Then it's like, okay, you saved it. Like so like. I kind of get why we don't see it all the time, because sometimes the more direct route and just throwing in the box and having your players where they're supposed to be and hoping it goes in is more likely to happen than, pulling off some cheeky trick play where, you could just screw it up so easily. So,
yeah,
I get that argument, but at the same time, that's how they scored their first goal. Like that, we were down 1-0 after that. That was the only differentiator in the game. So, yeah, it will be interesting to sort of see. I know that like Aston Villa, they have a specific set piece coach that just like comes in and has all these like crazy things work. They rarely do them, but like they scored this week because of like a crazy set piece off a corner. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see more and more teams start to adopt this at the highest level, and then, Kev, like you said, trickle down. Josh, give us a takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard not to just go straight to the end and talk about Kizza and like just the super sub situation. But like,
go ahead, do it.
No, we don't have to yet. I will say our first goal and having, I mean, obviously yes, but having Mertz be a part of it was great. That was the first one, right? Sorry, I'm getting him all confused.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. The assist, it run and play. It looks great, and gave us all hope again. And you can't really
Mertz, who stole the ball from Ryan James, which like feel bad for James on that one, but yeah.
I don't feel bad. He's not on.
I was going to say icing on the cake. What are you talking about? This is the opposite of feel bad. Just like yes, I saw Ryan James come in, and I'm just like thinking to myself like, crap, he's going to be the one that scores. It's going to be him. It's like of course it's going to be Ryan James, breaking my heart. Like I was like preparing for like all that, and then so Mertz doing what he did. That was.
Mertz's chance too, where he missed. He was like in the box and he dances around that play. And I don't know. This could be a little harsh on the. No, I was gonna say I'm not gonna be harsh at all on anyone. I think Mertz is probably the only player that can kind of do that on our team. I don't really see.
You don't think Dixon would do that, or Cicerone would do that?
Maybe. I don't know.
I hope Cicerone has a great game against Louis. Like that was the one thing about this game.
He looked so dejected. Bob was just railing on him the entire game, and I just felt bad for him.
Yeah, like the whole time, I'm like, oh man, like this sucks for him because like I made the comment. I was like, I forgot he was on the field for a little bit. I'm like, oh yeah, we do have Cicerone in. Like I did not see him doing much of anything for most of the game, and it sucks because I know he's a great player. He is. So just he was not having a great game.
We left him in the whole game, and he missed his PK. So it was just like,
like I said, he had a bad game, and that's why I'm hoping he kicks ass against Louis.
Agreed. Let's see. I threw to both you guys for takeaways. I guess I'll have a takeaway here. This again is sort of leaning towards. I feel like we should just talk about the shootout. But one more thing. We give Lily a lot of crap And, I think there are still going to be some conversations to be had here in the off season, not because we're just Lily out. That's not what it is at all. And especially, if we stay on this run, that's going to be a very hard conversation to have. But in this scenario specifically, after Birmingham went up 1-0, you could tell that their coach wasn't necessarily thinking ahead. He thought that they sort of had it in the bag. And so he subbed on a whole bunch of defenders. And Lily had the peace of mind to not just go all out offense. I think having a player like Danny Griffin in there that can drop back in the center back gives you a little bit of leeway for that. He did sub in a couple of defenders, but for the most part, we were far more attacking. And it just felt like throughout this game, especially as we got later in the game, it felt like Lily was always one step ahead of Birmingham, at least in terms of thinking, even when it gets to the shootout, which we need to just jump into it. But why was Kizza the last shooter for us? Like, you had the whole team, all of these defenders, and then Kizza was last. And you would think that as a forward, you'd play him early on. Kev, you're shaking your head.
I don't know. There's a lot of reasons. I mean, I wouldn't equate forward equals being good at penalties.
He scored two other goals in this game.
Sure. But I mean, when the other thing is, like, Enzo Martinez was their last kicker. So, like, I know, like, sometimes teams have that strategy of you put your best last in case, you absolutely need it or whatever. I wouldn't necessarily abide by that. But so I don't know. I throw penalty kick rotate, like, order to the wind, also because, like, I've heard ex-players talk about, like, when you're in those scenarios and whoever, like, the manager or this assistant manager comes up and just, like, you kind of just need to look in their eyes, like, who can do this, like, who has the stomach for this right now. And it's completely fine and legitimate for some players to be like, look, I can't, like, and so I don't know. That's kind of what I chalked that up to. I mean, sure, Kizza maybe had a good touch on him after scoring 2 and it was in a good feeling or whatever, but who knows? Like, I don't know. I thought Mark Ibarra had the best freaking pen ever. I was pretty down on Ibarra throughout the whole season, and he just won me over completely with the pen that he took. I don't think he ever looked at the ball.
So hold on. Let's just run through the list here, and I won't necessarily. Well, maybe we'll say who missed. Toby Sims scores. Danny Griffin scores. What?
I was going to say, quick story about Toby scoring. The whole bar erupted. I don't know if you saw the tweet about it, but yeah, it was hilarious. And Fez, I saw he's in the chat, so hopefully he's still listening. The whole bar erupted, and we end up doing a call response chant of "Oi, oi," and then the other half of the bar, Toby boy, oi, oi, nice. Toby boy. And it just went back and forth. And on Instagram, I private messaged Sims, and I told him all about that. He's just laughing. He's like, Fez, that's all because of Fez. So I believe he said something about buying Fez a beer when he's back in town. So make sure you call him out on that one, Fez, and get that beer from Toby.
I thought when Toby came on too, it was great. I mean, like he put a big spark in everyone's step, and it was a great pen. So yeah,
bottom left, yeah,
for sure. Running through the list again, we had Toby scored, Danny Griffin scored, Deke was scored, and then Cicerone got saved, Ian got saved, Mark Ibarra scores, Ordonez scores, Kelly Rosales scores, Jelani Peter scores, and then Kizza scores to seal the deal. All the while, Jamali Waite saved the first 2, and he saved the all-important last one. And the saves didn't seem lucky. Like, he seemed to know which way he was going, especially that last one. He knew exactly where it was going, and he just sort of anticipated it and got there. So got to give a shout out to Jamali Waite, who, we spent a lot of time talking about Danny Vitiello and him making all sorts of saves to help the team get through to Open Cup and all of that. And, Jamali Waite doing the part, especially as a first-year pro. So
it's kind of crazy that we're almost 25 minutes into this, and this is the first time we mentioned Jamali Waite. Yeah, what a game!
Yeah. Huge game. The 2 saves at the very beginning was just like mind blowing as far as like the PKs, but also during the game, his saves were fantastic, and it just kept us in that game. I think it was Mongols. tweeted out the whole thing. Mike, you believe you tweeted out, who was the player of the match for us, and it was pretty much just up to those two, Kizza and Wade. And both. I picked both because equally important, and it was just so amazing to see those saves.
Yeah,
and you're right though. After those saves, we're like, oh, we're good. Of course, I didn't feel that way, but
I kind of did. I was like,
I did not.
We scored on the first two. Like, let's put it away. One more. We're done. It's over. And then
usually I'm not as pessimistic as Josh, but I was actually with Josh on this one. I was like, because I don't know, for me, pens are such just a head game, and like to get that up, I was like, something's gonna give here, and it's gonna so.
Yeah. But, I mean, got to say, Ordonez, Peters, Ibar, we start getting further down that list, and I was having Ray Lee flashbacks of just like, this isn't going to happen, guys. They're going to miss the net completely. And all of them just like stepped up. And I think, I think I put it on Twitter, like, when did we learn how to take pens? And Kim DeBoo, who we've talked about her son on here a bunch, she said, since Ray Lee. I was like, oh, yep, that's... Yeah,
that was the thing, because we talked about that before with this season. We didn't have PKs this season, really. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, there was the one we shall not mention, and it went terribly. So it's just the fact that, like, you haven't really seen PKs this season from this team. So going to PKs, you're like, oh no, like, I don't know what to expect. This is just, it was nerve wracking. And PKs, and like Kevin, you were saying, just in general, you don't know what's going to happen. You have no clue. But it was especially nerve-wracking when I'm thinking to myself, like, we don't do PKs. Like, that's not something that we're known for this season. We don't have a whole bunch of fouls in the box where we have a super fantastic forward who always falls in the box and is able to get us PKs like we used to have.
I almost wonder. I mean, this doesn't warrant a long conversation for this podcast, but I almost wonder if you're the away team in penalties, it actually helps a little bit, like, just to know that, like,
that's true.
You know what I mean? Because, like, if you're the home pen taker and you walk up and you see those fans and they're just getting quiet for you and they're all looking at you and they're like, please make this, and then if you're the away, they're just. Yeah, okay, they're being rowdy, whatever. Like, I don't know. A player can probably tell me that's full of crap, but yeah.
Well, Liz just posted in the chat that she felt good until the guys started taunting the crowd, and then I got worried. Are you if you were to score in that scenario, are you a taunt the crowd kind of person, Kev?
It's so hard. From a default stance, I would say no, but I can only imagine that they are hurling like personal things at you, and then you score. I couldn't help but do it. Yeah, so I totally get it. The first time they did it, I was like, oh, don't do that. But then I was like, wait a minute, like, these guys are probably getting it, and so yeah, I totally would have.
Yeah. One, I don't think it's tactics. I think it's literally just the, adrenaline in the moment. Like, you don't know what you're going to do after you score that PK. Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, wow, you're just all over the place, and whatever happens, happens. But I can also imagine it, like you're saying, like, it gets in both, or it gets into that team's head as well. Because, like, you taunt the crowd starts getting angry, and then you have, like, angry fans behind you, and you feel the pressure even more because, like, they're not happy. They're not having a good time right now because they're all angry now. And, like, yeah, that pressure has to, weigh on the team who's, that's their fans and they're angry. So they feel obligated to, do something, but what can they do?
Yeah.
Got to give another random shout out to the fourth official. Basically, she had to step in after the first official, like, split his eye open, like his eyebrow open. And she took no crap. Like, she, like, I was like any fourth official to step into a game like that. I'm like, this could be really precarious, and she was having none of it, and I was like, good for you. That was awesome.
All right, can we talk about what took the ref out and how everyone's complaining on Birmingham's fans? They're all complaining, saying the ref took out their player. If it wasn't for that, there's no way that goal happens.
It's a joke.
BS. It's not like, my feelings on it is, guy comes from behind and hits the ref. Like, he runs into the ref. It wasn't like the ref, like, juked to the left or the right and, like, really, like, elbow. Like, literally, the guy ran into him. And it's like, how is that the ref's fault? Like, and expecting them to stop play when the ball or when that happened behind the ball. It wasn't like it was in front of the play. It was behind the play.
Yeah.
Get over it.
No
Think
chance.
about it as if it was like a car accident. Who would be at fault in that case? Not the ref. The ref is like facing ahead of the player. It's the other responsibility to know where the ref is and not run into him. So
Got rear-ended. Not his fault.
exactly. He totally got rear-ended. Yeah. No,
When
I
they
got
made
into
the
it
announcers
sort
made a
of
good
with one
point too,
person.
saying like like the refs are part of the game. Okay, like so you have to like, yeah, you can't just run into them. And yeah, like Josh, you said he just normally followed the play. He didn't do anything different. And so yeah, I don't know. I do want to say though, like I don't know what happened because I didn't think that he would have like got his eye all swollen up. It didn't look like. At first I was so innocuous. I was like, oh, just get up. And I was like, he's totally doing this because he's tired and he just doesn't want to get up. Like he's not hurt.
Talk about the
And
ref?
it's like, no. At first,
okay.
the player, because the player was down for forever. Yeah, the ref's probably trying to keep up to the play. Can't see a thing. He's like, I hope play stops soon. Like I can't see. But yeah, no, that was a wild moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even heard someone make the argument that, well, obviously the ref got hit in the head, so they should have stopped play for a head injury, and so that play should never. Like, you're reaching so far now.
Yeah.
Like, you're trying to come up with a reason why we shouldn't have won that game. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not saying the Hounds were the better team because most of that game we were not the better team, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Like, you know what I mean? Like this.
Yeah.
It's playoff soccer. It's going to be crazy.
Yep.
The best team doesn't always win, but it's sometimes better to be lucky than good. And unless you're kids, and then you're just good.
Just totally random. I just realized that we all have a window sort of over our what appears to be our left shoulder. So like that's just totally random. Anyway,
that is Mike. That is very random.
It's very random.
Just like that comment was, Mike.
Sorry. Back to before the randomness. But that brings up an interesting point of how do you? So we got the win, right? And we're not going to dig out any individual players, but like Lilly himself said, we did not play well, and that Waite saved us a couple of times, literally and figuratively. So, like, I don't know how to feel going into this movie.
By the way, Lilly actually came out in a press conference and said like we didn't play well, blah 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 blah.
It wasn't a press conference. He talked to John Krasinski like on the phone, and John tweeted out the response.
I will say I would have expected Lilly to say that.
Right.
But at the same time, this is not the time like to say that. Like it
was exactly like that. He wasn't like, we didn't play well. It was more like, we didn't have our best game. And there's mistakes that were made, blah, 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 blah. Essentially just saying that like, typical Lilly, if we win a game, he's going to be critical. If we lose a game, he's going to be, apologetic about, the team being like, oh, they're great. They're doing fine. Just got to power through this. And yeah.
No, I totally get it. It's just like, like we're not going to get any better this week. Right. Like this is whatever's going to happen is going to happen in these next couple of weeks. So like,
well, yes, but let me ask you this. Do you think that what we saw last night was any progression on what we did against Oakland last week? Like, do you think that we're actively getting better, or do you think we're basically the same team that we've been for the past few weeks?
How could I have no idea?
The eye test, just the eye test.
No, I don't
played
think
a worse team last week, and so we looked better. That's my eye test.
Yeah, I don't think we particularly looked better against Birmingham. No, I think we were better in the critical moments, and that's it.
Okay. I'm still sort of conflicted and torn on. I think we're at the point where like you just stop caring. It's one game, and so like you go, you play that one game, you give it your all, and that's what it is. And what happens happens. You throw out everything that's happened before. You can have playoff heroes emerge like Waite or Kizza, and that's all you need to move on at this point. Like
I feel like every playoff game is essentially like a derby. Like just form goes out the window for these games. It doesn't matter, and it's just now. I mean, quality is persistent. but form goes out the window. Whether or not you're playing poorly, it doesn't matter. And you play with 120% with your heart rather than your head with all this stuff.
Yeah, I feel like we're starting to flirt and fall into sort of what comes next. So before we do that, is there anything else that you guys wanted to talk about specifically this game?
I hope we don't go 10 PKs deep because that was just too nerve-wracking.
I really want to see the keepers shoot. If we would have gone one more round, the keepers would have had to shoot against each other.
That's what Riley said too.
Yeah. No, thank you. I was over it after 5 PKs. I'm like, okay, we can end any time now, please. I can't handle this.
Yeah. Kevin,
I mean,
I
don't know. I don't want to stop talking about this, but I don't have particularly more things to say. Okay. Every single one of the subs came on, and I thought did a good job. Like none of them hid. All of them got on the ball. All of them like tried to make chances and actually had an impact on the game. That's
USL
rare.
Tactics had a great tweet breaking down this game, like a tweet thread. And yeah, Mike, you kind of touched on a little bit about, Lily is known to tinker, and sometimes you feel like he tinkers too much, and I feel like everyone has that complaint. But yeah, this game is definitely a situation where it feels like both refs were kind of playing this game. What's the reference? Tinker, soldier, tailor, spy, whatever that is. Never mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, a situation where like both of them were just like, kind of tactically one upping each other, and it was so cool to see, and it actually like worked out in our favor, obviously. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. Sort of again, we're floating towards the Louisville game, but tactically, Louisville will do something very similar in terms of they adjust their formations and they adjust which players depending upon who they're playing in what given situation. So you're going to see a lot of that sort of manipulation, most likely mid-game as well this upcoming week. So yeah. No,
Shout
listen,
out to Yang, like completely forgot he was even in the team. And then I think his first like involvement was great. He was just like, I am going to run past you. I am faster than you. I have more legs than you right now. And he just kept doing it. And you know what? I mean, he's the one who set up Kizza's extra time goal. Had a good game. Like, yeah, do it again. I don't know. It was great. I was just so surprised. I mean, like, yeah, and also, yeah, I don't know. We've already talked about Kizza, but just the impact that he had, it's just incredible.
He's on a loan. He did not get picked up by the MLS team. Was it Revolution that he was on a loan from? Yeah. Revolution already terminated his contract. Does this mean he could become a official Hounds player next season? Do you think we could keep him somehow?
I feel like legally he has, like, we have to sign him like Tuesday, like because like isn't like how it works with a loan is like we have a deal with the Revolution.
Well, I think technically they just didn't pick up his contract, so like I feel like he's with them till the end of the season.
Right. Okay.
So it's just that he's not going to be re-signed to them next season. So we get to keep him for the playoffs. I don't think that's an issue. I'm just saying, like, he's no longer under contract with them next season, and that means we're not going to be able to do this again with on loan. But I mean, after this, do we try to keep him?
Look, man, he's kept Dane Kelly out of an important playoff game, and
did he
scored
or did
2
Dane
goals.
Kelly keep himself out of it? I don't know. I'm just saying, I don't know what's going on, but I feel like this might be more on him than on Kizza.
Yeah.
Listen, I mean, the year after Mark Forrest was Mark Forrest, we signed him and then he really didn't play again. So, I mean, like, I think you kind of are obligated to keep Kizza around for at least a year. But, I mean, that's one of the questions that I have heading into Louisville. Considering the contributions that a lot of the guys made off the bench, do you shake up our starting 11 at all? Like, does Kizza make it into the starting 11? That's like a tricky... That's really tricky. Like, did Deekwood do anything terribly wrong to warrant him coming out? Probably not.
I don't think Deekwood had the. No, I know. I can't say a negative thing about anyone. That's the hard part. Is some of the subs I think made legitimate claims because of being one. But you don't want to, as Josh alluded to, like tinker too much during the playoffs. I don't know. That's a hard thing to answer, especially like Decoy. You've played him all season, and to switch it up now, like that's a hard conversation to have with Decoy. Like, look, I know I've relied on you all season, and in my eyes, you've done well. But hey, he scored 2 goals in stoppage time and stoppage time plus. Like, I can't. So I don't know. It's hard.
The other thing you got to keep in mind is like this is also the reason why they came in was because of tired legs and like the tactics in this one situation. This player is a better fit for what's going on with the way that the defense with the other team is lining up and the offense of ours. Like it's very situational. So I don't think you can just be like, oh, he worked here, so he's definitely going to work here. Like in this next game. Doesn't really work that way. And, if anyone knows that, it's going to be Lily, the way he is able to, break down the tactics of the whole situation. So I don't think we should expect to see like just he's a start next week. Like, I don't think that's what the right answer is here. I think the right answer is just knowing that we have that arrow in our quiver, and it is something that has shown to be a big benefit. And if tactics call for it, bring him out. But I don't think we see him start personally.
All right, we're done flirting with this. Josh, throw up the playoff tree here. Let's look at how everything shook out. So
look at that. That looks so good.
It's literally a screenshot from the USL site.
No, dude. I know. I know that. But I'm just saying, to see us, get past the first round of the playoffs, like, ugh.
For those who can't see it at home, basically every top seed that was expected to make it through did, except for us in the East and Oakland in the West. So the way that it shakes out in the East, which I'm sure that's all you care about at this point, we play Louisville on Saturday at 7:30 p.m. Memphis plays Tampa at 8:30 p.m. on Saturday. So both games are on Saturday, basically an hour separating the two of them. The downside is that because no other lower seed won, there is zero chance of us having a home playoff game, at least through the East. The only real shot that we could potentially, Harry is saying he cares about the West. Let's talk about the West. So all of the top seeded teams made it through as well, including Harry San Antonio, which had a bye in the first place. So they will play Oakland as the lower seed, and then the Switchbacks and Sac Republic are going to play each other. Sacramento or San Antonio plays on Saturday, and then Switchbacks and Sacramento are on Sunday. I can't. Wait, what? No. What am I doing? These are all saying the games are on Sunday, but like, no.
Yeah. Oh, something to keep in mind. Those might be wrong. They might have been said before, but something to keep in mind is that only one team in the West is above us in the standings. So if San Antonio goes through, it will be in San Antonio if we make it to the final. I know we're counting our chickens before they hatch, but like, keep this in mind. Any of the other 3 teams make it all the way through, and the game would be at Highmark Stadium. And that's the only way we're going to get a Highmark Stadium playoff game, is if we make it to the final and one of those 3 teams make it through. So go Oakland. That's all I'm saying.
as the comments are blowing up here, San Antonio plays Oakland on Friday night. The rest of the games are on Saturday. So it would help if I had a calendar in front of me. I thought that I misread and saw that there were multiples on the 28th and one on the 29th, but I need bifocals because I'm getting old. So regardless, that's how the playoffs shake out.
And you call them bifocals, so yeah,
I know,
you are getting old.
I'm super old.
All right, I'm taking down the graphic unless you need it.
Yeah, take down the graphic.
Before you get more confused.
Let's see. Where am I? I was going to take that somewhere else. We're going to let that be. So the Hounds head to Lincoln Family Stadium on Saturday, 7:30 p.m. to take on Louisville. One of the things I'd like to pick your guys' brain about after we get through all of this stuff about Louisville to sort of set the table. Louisville had a bye this week, so they get a little bit more rest. And when you get into playoff mode, is that a good thing or is that a bad thing? We played Louisville twice this season. We lost to them 2-0 in April. We drew 0-0 in September. That was the game where Lily sort of threw the kitchen sink at them, and we thought we looked better for it. Since Lily has been here, we have not beat Louisville in the playoffs. In 2020, we lost 2-0 at Lynn Family Stadium. In 2019, we lost 2-1 in extra time at Highmark. That was after we beat Birmingham 7-0. So not great. Statistically, Louisville are a better team. They're ranked 4th in the league with goals scored. They have 65. We only have 52. They're ranked 2nd in the league with goals conceded. They've only led in 28. We've led in 40. So that doesn't feel like that massive of a range. But again, none of that matters. It all comes down to one game. In terms of players to look out for, they've got Kyle Morton in net. We know Kyle. He came in 2nd in the Golden Glove with 13 clean sheets. So he's a good keeper. They have a well-balanced attack. They have Wilson Harris. He has 15 goals. Musha Galusa has 10 goals. Brian Ownby and Sean Toach each have 9 goals. They also have Cameron Lancaster, who averages basically a goal and a half per game if he actually plays. He only played 3 games so far this season. In their most recent,
that's unfair. I thought he was like the second coming of Holland or something.
No. I mean, in previous seasons he was, but for whatever reason, he's not making it onto the field as much this season. I mentioned a little bit about the tinkering. So in the most recent game against Hartford, they played a 3-4-3. The game before that, they played Detroit. They played a 4-3-3. The game before that, they played a 3-5-2. When they played us in September, it was a 4-3-3. So, like, they're totally going to look at the Hounds. They're going to game plan for the Hounds. And this is just going to be a mental battle between Danny Cruz and Bob Lilly. So that's all of the, stupid stats that I have here about Louisville. We all know that they're a good team. We all know what to expect. We all know that they are our kryptonite, and this is our chance to finally, cross that hurdle. Regardless of the type of season that we had, if you can beat Louisville in the playoffs, all sins are forgiven. It's just like,
and
we're
you're
taking
going
the step,
to
we're moving on.
statistically win the USL.
Well, Harry has something to say about that. But let me ask you. I know this is purely subjective at this point, but do you feel that having an extra week off in the playoffs is a good thing, or is it a bad thing, Kevin?
I think it's the only good that comes from it is if you have borderline injured players and it gives them another week to recover. Or like severe, exhaustion from playing the same 11 players the entire season or something. I think tempo really matters for important games, and I would rather have played than had like a bye week. And I genuinely don't think I'm just saying that because that's the situation that we find ourselves in. I always thought it was kind of weird. I think Champions League final, like they get like 2.5 weeks off or something before they play it. And I always felt that I was like, I don't know if you're getting the best team like in these finals.
The Super Bowl is the same way. They always do 2 weeks before the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, because you're not going to, you can't recreate the intensity of a game in practice, no matter how hard you try. And I think if anything, it's almost like how you would like ice the kicker in football. Like I feel like you're kind of icing both teams of just like have another week to think about like what you're going to go into. And so I don't know. Look, there are obviously advantages of it. You can an extra, I don't think any manager is going to complain about an extra week of training time with your team, but I'd rather take the tempo and kind of the regularity of playing than taking the bye week.
Total side tangent. We've talked about Welcome to Wrexham on the show before. I'm not through the series yet, but I just watched an episode the other night where there's a number of players who are on the bench that can't break into the starting 11, and they literally, their assignment is they go home each day and they have to play so many hours of FIFA to keep their mind like sharp and like thinking like legitimately the team uses FIFA as like a training tool to like keep your mind sharp and in that game mode sort of perspective. So it is a thing that if if you're not getting minutes, you got to figure out a way to keep your mind sharp during that time. Josh, would you take the extra week off or not?
So it's kind of good for both teams in their own situations. I feel like if you're the better team, if you are, well, frankly, in the standings, if you're Louisville, that extra week is great because I don't feel like the team feels like they have anything to prove. I feel like they're already like going to be able to get injuries taken care of, like you're saying, Kevin. But I also think if you're the Hounds and you want momentum, you want that feel. So like ramping up to this game is great for them. I would rather like in the situation the Hounds. It's good that the Hounds didn't have a week off, and it probably doesn't matter much that Louisville had a week off for them. So it kind of is a wash. I feel like in my mind because the Hounds needed to play consistently to get this ramp. Obviously, you have to win the playoffs to get to the next round anyway. But in general, having two games that were winning games in a row and feeling like you're kind of like on the upswing is important for them going into this game. Whereas Louisville probably doesn't make a big difference that they had a week off for their consistency in their play.
I want to just reinforce a point you made. I agree. I think most other teams a week off can throw you. Louisville, it's been here so many times that I think you're right.
If you're Louisville, are you worried about playing the Hounds, Kev?
I mean, I don't see why you would be. The only thing is so Louisville beat us twice this season, right? I'm pretty sure.
No,
I know we lost.
They won.
Draw.
They won one, and we drew one.
Okay. Well, then never mind. I was gonna say like sometimes if you've beaten a team twice, some people say like it's hard to do it a third time, right? Like just mentally or whatever something happens. But no, I don't. The only is like such an emotional momentum push that game was. That'd be the only thing. I don't think it's anything particular about us that Louisville would be worried about more than any other team.
Is it weird? I think the fact that we're going into Lynn Stadium again, like, and we beat them there before, and like, what was it the first game of their season the first game in the stadium?
First game in the stadium, we beat them there. Yeah.
So it's kind of weird that I feel like that is almost like a mental thing that goes in our favor that we're playing it there. As much as playing away can be a favorite, at least it's not like a really far away game. You know what I mean? Like it's still a relatively close game. But also with that, I kind of feel like it doesn't matter who Louisville's playing against. If you're a player and a coach, like just the organization in general, you're afraid of any game. And you know what I mean? It's a playoffs. Like you have to be concerned. It's not like you're like, oh, we're playing the Hounds. It's going to be a cakewalk. It's more like it's the playoffs. Who the heck knows? Like as we saw with their last game, doesn't mean they're the best team, but they definitely got through. So it's like that could happen to us. So you just have to be afraid, and especially with a team that won like we did last week or this weekend. It's a situation where you feel like they're super pumped and they're coming in with this momentum and with this like feeling of invigoration where they're going to give it their all and they're just flying on high. So those things I feel like do have an effect on the game.
Yeah. Harry just pointed out that in 2019, the last playoff game between Pitt and Louisville went to extra time. Would not shock him if this one goes to extra time as well. I could see that. I could make the argument on both sides of it where, the Hounds should go in and play better and looser because there's no pressure. We're the lower seeded team. We're away from home. Everyone, I shouldn't say everyone, but people expect Louisville to win. So that allows you to play a little bit freer. But then on the flip side, we saw what sort of reaction we got when we played Louisville at home. And we sort of got a bounce and a push. And same thing with Oakland, where the home crowd can really sort of get behind you and help push you forward. So it's so hard to tell. It's the playoffs. Like anything can happen.
Yeah.
That said, prediction time. There's no prize on the line yet, but let's pretend that there is. So let's go with a realist. Oh, that was one thing too. I apologize. I meant to do this earlier, and I totally didn't do it. But I'm going to pull up Twitter real fast. What we had done, and we'll do the same thing for this game here coming up, is I made a comment about the fact that people could submit their prediction for the score, and anybody who got the prediction right had a chance to win a Mongols hat. And the thought was just that if we had multiple people pick the right score, then we would just sort of pick at random who would win. We did not have anybody say 2-2 and then 8-7 in overtime, so that just didn't happen.
Surprise!
Surprise!
Scoreline.
We had a couple of people say 2-1 Hounds, 2-0 Hounds, but there was no draw. And so
I mean, look, I said 1-1 win on penalties. I was kind.
You did, but you don't get a hat. You work here.
You don't get a hat. So the question is we'll put up the same thing, and if you get it right, and if it's something like 1-0 and like 800 people say 1-0, then we'll pick one or two from a hat and we'll send them a hat. But let's do realistic score predictions here. So Pitt travels to Louisville. We play Saturday night, 7:30. Kev, I'm picking on you first. Give me a score prediction here. Maybe I'll send you a hat.
I mean, I think I'm going to go with my same thing that I said last time. I'm going to say 1-1. We win on pens.
How many pens?
Oh, come on. Are you kidding me? There's no chance.
Josh?
1-1.
What was the score that we beat them at the stadium opening?
I think it's 2-1. They scored
2-1?
first. Yeah.
Whatever it is, that's what I want it to be, because I think that'd be hilarious. So if it's 2-1, I'm trying to look it up. I can't remember the score line, but that game, I wanted it to be the same score line.
Let's see. Fez said Lou 2, Hounds 3. Sims scores in the last minute. Of course it would be. Steve said 3-1. I'm assuming he means Hounds, but he didn't clarify. So you got to clarify.
He did that on
Steve.
purpose.
He did. Harry said he thinks Lou City 2, Riverhounds 1, and he hates to say it. So we're getting a lot of thoughts here live.
Stop.
How dare you?
Harry's allowed. He's not like a diehard fan.
I was like, he's not even a Riverhounds guy. He's
That's right. Yeah.
San Antonio.
That's right. We'll see if he ends up watching that game since his team's playing Friday night. What do I think? Oh, there you go. Steve said 3-1 in the Lynn Stadium opening. So, Josh, do you want to change your pick to 3-1 because that's what it was?
Yeah, that's what it's going to be. Yeah.
Okay. I like the draw. I already have a hat, so I don't really care. I'm going to flip it. I'll say 2-1 Hounds, but in extra time. I'll say that it's the inverse of what happened a few years ago where they came to Highmark and they beat us 2-1 in extra time. I'll say 2-1 Hounds in extra time. Oh man, but geez. Liz said with a Mertz header, so there you go.
That's been my call all season. Let's do this. What did that happen so bad?
2 Hounds pens. So now the cat's out of the bag. Now that people realize that you could call a draw with pens, like I think we're going to see a lot of those. So I'll put out a tweet again as we get closer to the game this week, and everybody share your thoughts. And like I said, closest ones will get a Hounds hat, and we'll go from there. Gentlemen, anything else? So the team has already said there will be a watch party at Mike's. Josh, I'm assuming you guys will be back at Bulldogs.
Yeah.
You're nodding your head. Another free round to everybody, right? Yeah.
We'll see. We're also trying to figure out away tickets and bus. Or not bus. We can't find a bus. We already tried. They're all booked up, and but we're trying to pull as many strings as we can. See if we can do like a caravan type situation again. There's talks of maybe trying a couple Sprinter vans. Like we'll see if anyone's available to do those. Yeah, we want to get a crowd going to the stadium because it's a pretty close away game, and the second round playoffs doesn't happen much for the Hounds, so we want to make the most of it. So if you're interested in going, if you're not on the Discord, jump on the Discord, or just maybe leave a DM to the Steel Army account. Anything, kind of get a hold of us. We can try to plan it all out. And let's hopefully we can get a good crowd going to Louisville and make a presence.
I think the Hounds have only made it to the second round of the playoffs one other time in the Lilly era, and it was against Louisville. So
at home,
lots of glass ceilings we're trying to break here with this team this week. Beat our Kryptonite, get past the second round. Let's see if the guys have it in them. I have faith. I appreciated, what was it? We did the tweet at the end of the game just saying what just happened. And Toby Adewale did a mind blown thing, and we said we miss you, Toby, and he said we miss you too. And I'm like, there's so many of these old players, and I'm just like, ugh. That's why the whole Ryan James thing. There's still a piece of me. It's like, ugh, him and Tommy V. But I feel like after a few years, we're just going to know everybody in the league because at some point they'll have come through Pittsburgh, and that'll just be what it is. But yeah. That feels like a weird place to end this, but anyway.
It does feel like a weird place, Mike. These are a great group of guys we have. We're happy with
the people we have on the field right now.
That's right. Listen, with Jamali Waite behind us, anything is possible. So it'll be very interesting and a lot of fun. If you're around and you want to go to Louisville, as Josh said, let Steel Army know. Get on Discord, send a message, whatever. If you're not going, get the Bulldog, get the mics. Get video, share it online, regardless of what happens. I'm sure it's going to be a big party. It's going to be a lot of fun. Guys, any other closing thoughts for this one?
Let's do it again.
Let's do this again. Second round of the playoffs. Doesn't happen often. Enjoy it. And make sure you're going somewhere and celebrating because this is great.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Let us know what you think. We let us know, or no, wait, what?
There you go. You caught yourself.
Yeah. I said, let us know what you think. We let you know what we think. You got backwards. Anyway, weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter. We are proudly part of the Beautiful Game Network, which is home to more than 100 volunteer writers and podcasters covering local soccer. Help us all keep doing what we're doing. Head to bgn.fm, click the donate button to help us cover expenses. We appreciate the support. Otherwise, thanks, everybody. We will talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers.